Jared Anthony Higgins, known to the world as Juice WRLD, was one of the most influential voices of a generation that grew up online, emotional, and deeply connected through music that didn't hide pain. It expressed it. His rise was fast, his impact was massive, and his legacy continues to shape modern hip-hop and emo rap even after his passing. Before the fame, before the charts, and before the global recognition, he was just a kid from Chicago, Illinois. Born in 1998, Juice WRLD grew up in a household shaped by strict rules and structure. His mother was deeply religious, and much of his early life was influenced by a controlled environment where discipline and expectations were constant. Even so, music became his escape early on, something that allowed him to express emotions he didn't always have words for. As a child, he was exposed to a wide range of music: rock bands, video game soundtracks, hip-hop, pop, and even alternative influences, all blended into his developing taste. Unlike many artists who stay within one genre early on, he absorbed everything around him. He learned piano, experimented with melodies, and began understanding rhythm and emotion in music long before he ever stepped into a professional studio. That early curiosity would later become one of the defining traits of his career. In his teenage years, that experimentation turned into something more serious. He started recording music on his phone, often in his bedroom, and uploading tracks online under early aliases. At first, it was just expression, no real expectation of success. But platforms like SoundCloud were beginning to change everything. A new wave of artists was emerging, defined by raw emotion, lo-fi production, and honesty that mainstream hip-hop often avoided. This movement would later be known as the SoundCloud rap era, and Juice WRLD quickly became one of its standout voices. Even in those early uploads, there was something different about him. He wasn't trying to imitate trends. He was expressing emotion directly. Sadness, heartbreak, confusion, and reflection were not hidden behind heavy production or forced personas. They were front and center. That honesty resonated with listeners almost immediately, even before he had a mainstream audience. Juice WRLD stood out almost immediately. His breakout came with the song Lucid Dreams, a track built around emotional heartbreak, melody-driven rap, and lyrics that felt more like confessions than performance. The song exploded across streaming platforms and quickly turned him into a global name. It wasn't just popular. It was emotionally resonant in a way that made listeners feel understood on a personal level, especially younger audiences navigating similar emotions. At a time when many artists focused heavily on image, status, and bravado, Juice WRLD leaned into openness. He often spoke about heartbreak, anxiety, and internal struggle in ways that felt unfiltered and spontaneous. That authenticity became the core of his appeal. Fans didn't just listen to his music, they connected to it deeply, almost like it was speaking directly to them. After his breakout success, his career accelerated rapidly. He signed with a major label and began releasing projects that showed both versatility and emotional depth. Albums like Goodbye and Good Riddance and Death Race for Love showcased a wide emotional range, from love and heartbreak to internal conflict, reflection, and mental struggle. His ability to shift between melodic singing and rapid-fire rap made his sound difficult to categorize, but easy to recognize. What made Juice WRLD truly unique was his ability to freestyle entire songs. He could enter a studio, hear a beat for the first time, and create fully formed tracks in real time. Many producers and collaborators described him as someone who could channel emotion directly into music without overthinking it. That spontaneity gave his work a raw, unfiltered quality. It also contributed to the massive amount of unreleased material he left behind, much of which would later surface after his passing. As his fame grew, so did the pressures surrounding him. Touring schedules became intense, media attention increased, and expectations from both fans and the industry rose with every release. Despite his success, Juice WRLD often expressed in his lyrics and interviews that he was still dealing with internal struggles, including anxiety and emotional pain that never fully went away. At the same time, his influence was expanding far beyond music charts. He became a defining figure for a generation that was becoming more open about mental health, vulnerability, and emotional expression. For many listeners, his music was not just entertainment, it was validation. It gave language to feelings they were already experiencing, but didn't know how to express. Songs like All Girls Are the Same, Robbery, and Legends captured feelings of heartbreak, loss, and reflection in a way that resonated deeply with millions of fans worldwide.
His lyrics often balanced sadness with melody, creating a sound that was both emotionally heavy and hypnotically catchy at the same time. By the time he reached the peak of his fame, Juice WRLD was one of the most streamed artists in the world. His music dominated charts, playlists, and social media platforms. Yet, behind the success, the pace of his life continued to intensify. He was constantly recording, constantly traveling, and constantly creating, often described as someone who never wanted to stop making music. In late 2019, he was actively working on new projects, recording constantly, and preparing for future releases. Those close to him often described him as highly creative, but also overwhelmed by how quickly everything around him was moving. Then, in December 2019, everything changed. On December 8th, Juice WRLD was traveling through Chicago's Midway Airport after a private flight had landed. During a federal search of the aircraft, he suffered a medical emergency. Emergency responders arrived quickly, and he was transported to a nearby hospital. He was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. He was 21 years old. The official cause of death was later reported as an accidental overdose involving oxycodone and codeine. The news sent shockwaves across the music industry and around the world. Fans, artists, and collaborators expressed grief, shock, and disbelief at the sudden loss of someone who had become one of the defining voices of his generation. In the days and weeks that followed, tributes poured in globally. His music surged even further in popularity, with millions revisiting his songs as a way to process the loss. Posthumous releases, including the album Legends Never Die, continued his presence in the music world, debuting at #1 and breaking streaming records. But Juice WRLD's legacy is not defined solely by how his life ended. It is defined by what he created while he was here. He helped reshape modern hip-hop by blending genres, emotions, and styles that previously existed on the edges of mainstream music. He normalized emotional openness in rap, influencing a wave of younger artists who followed his approach to vulnerability and melody-driven storytelling. Perhaps most importantly, his music continues to serve as an emotional outlet for fans around the world. Even after his passing, new listeners continue to discover his work, often describing it as deeply relatable and personal in ways few artists achieve. Juice WRLD's impact is still growing. His unreleased catalog, his influence on new artists, and the emotional honesty in his music ensure that his presence remains active in modern culture. In the end, his story is not just about fame or success. It is about a young artist who turned emotion into art, who connected with millions through honesty, and who left behind a body of work that continues to resonate far beyond his years. Juice WRLD's life was brief, but his legacy is lasting. And for many, his music still feels like it is speaking directly to them, proof that even in absence, his voice remains present.